What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video, and yeah, let's jump straight into things. So we're going to start on the daily. Hopefully you've watched yesterday's video, and yeah, interesting day. You can see our price traded lower, took out these lows. I can't remember, I didn't leave my charts on, unfortunately, but I know we did trade into the fair value gap, which I drew our attention to on the daily. So if you go watch yesterday's video, you'll remember me drawing out this gap specifically, and you'll see our price traded down into that and then left it. And if you remember what I was saying that if price trades up to here first into this premium fair value gap, then I'd expect, so this premium PD array, I'm still anticipating price want to trade into it. But yeah, as I was saying yesterday, if we didn't trade to this first and we traded straight down, then I'd expect us to hit this and then trade to this, and then vice versa. As in, if we traded to this first and I wanted to see us bypass this. Now, as you can see, the wick did outrun it slightly, which is not a problem. But it's nice to see how it respected that PD array essentially, and then, you know, it's obviously pulling, it seems like it's pulling back into this premium PD array, which I originally had my eye set on. Now, it was quite an interesting day in terms of delivery, not the cleanest and not the easiest to trade, especially for a Monday, so I did find myself staying out of things. But let's drop down to the 4 hour, take a closer look, and you can see our price turned perfectly within inside this range, and then you can see now it just it's filled this range completely again. So I can imagine we're going to remain in a consolidation, but now we have relative equal highs above here and here. And this premium fair value gap, I'm still looking for price to trade into, because remember, if we're expecting that down close week, we do want to see that high get made either tomorrow or Wednesday. So because of that, that means that moving into Tuesday, I'd like to think that we can run these relative equal highs. So I'm going to get that marked out now because that's still relevant for buy side liquidity. Like so, and then you can see that the if we drop down to the 1 hour, we can take a closer look. So there is, like I said, we will likely stay in this consolidation. I'm now looking at this bullish order block to hold price, because as far as I'm concerned, now that we've traded down to this discount PD array, we should be hunting for some kind of premium one. And then we can also look at that Sunday opening price as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delineate the days first, just so that we're aware. So this is Sunday, this is Monday, and then we're going to go into Tuesday. And then we'll mark out that Sunday opening price like we always do, drag that right through. I tend to make it dotted and red, and then the fact that we're above it again, I'm expecting price to stay above it. I don't want to see us drop below it. The lowest I'd want to see price trade before trading into this fair value gap is going to be this bullish order block at the most. And I know that when I drop down to the lower time frames, because I can see at the wicks that there's going to be some kind of breaker here that's going to form as well. So I'm not going to mark anything out on this time frame, but generally speaking, I'm looking for Tuesday to rally up into here, fill the fair value gap, and then ideally turn around at this nice bearish order block here if it managed to reach up into that premium. So let's get that delineated like so, and then let's go down to the 15-minute and see if we can find the breaker. And here it is. So we have a low, a high, a lower low, which accumulated stops below these lows right here. Oh no, it didn't. It created relative equal lows, but my point is it retraced. That's the main part. That's my main point, is that we've ran above a significant gap right here, and then we've retraced to accumulate stops below these lows, and now it's come back above this range. So as far as I'm concerned, this should be the lowest that price trades before filling in that premium PD array. So let's look at this breaker, the last up close candle. I'm going to mark this out like so. Let's make it blue. Now I'm not going to mark out the whole range. I am just going to mark out the volume of it, because that should be the most sensitive point. And I'm happy for price to trade into this to create the low tomorrow, to then trade on higher and fill in this fair value gap. So that's all I'm expecting moving into Tuesday. Really not much. If price manages to trade through this breaker, so if we drop through it, then I'm not expecting us to let me say that again. If we drop through this breaker, then I believe that Monday may have created the high, and that price should be able to run on lower and take out those Sunday lows easily. It's just the fact that we're now back above that Sunday opening price. We should find that price struggles to get back below it, that we consolidate around it, that this will act as a level of support, and that will help us get into our premium PD array, which we've now got relative equal highs forming at. And then, like I said, we do have a gap here, and gaps, you know, we treat them like fair value gaps. So if I drag this through and I make this black, you know, you can see our price is gyrating around this price range, but the fact that we're above it, I'd like to think it will act as a bullish fair value gap, as in price shouldn't be able to get through it. So I'm going to be paying close attention to that as well. But mainly, this is the lowest I want to see price trade before we trade up to here. And if this gets disrespected, we know then we're probably on the wrong side. It will likely use this as a resistance PD array, as in it will use it to bounce off of, and then it will trade on lower, running for these stops. So that's something to take note of. And then, yeah, let's head on to GBP USD. But generally speaking, just pay close attention to how smooth these highs are. They haven't built these in intention, without intention to likely try and attempt to run them. We'll go to GBP USD. Luckily, I've left my markings on here. So let's go to the daily, take a look at how price traded. And you can see we ran out Friday's highs, and we've also taken out Friday's lows as well. Now, if you remember in yesterday's video, I was saying how I want to see GBP create the low. I'm still anticipating that. So although we have managed to take out buy stops, that just means that, you know, there's more likely that price is going to be able to drop a little bit deeper into the discount. So again, I do consult you to go and watch yesterday's video for more understanding. But my point is, I want to see price drop into this range specifically, which is a weekly fair value gap, as you can see. And then I'm happy for price to get all the way down here. It's just that looking at how, you know, aggressive this consolidation is, I'd like to think that it would struggle to get through this range, especially the amount of back and forth price action. If it did manage to get through it, I would be slightly concerned. So as much as I've marked this out, ideally I'd like to think that it would struggle and therefore be able to turn within the weekly fair value gap. And we haven't even touched that this week yet, so that's something to take into account. And then you can see, again, we're remaining in quiet consolidation in terms of how much back and forth price action we're seeing. So we're likely going to see some kind of manipulation, which will create the low of the week. We have a nice little breaker here, low, high, lower, low expansion. So we can look at that up close, which happens to be in the weekly fair value gap, which price may want to tap into to create the low, in line with dollar. Remember, ideally creating that high in the premium to then reverse and then start to trade higher for the rest of the week. So yeah, interesting day though. The way we ran out stops is interesting, but the fact that we've displaced so aggressively, see this candle here, how we displaced below these lows, you know, the way that we have these bearish order blocks, these should now be able to hold prices in. Similar to what I was saying on dollar with the breaker, I don't want to see pound trade above here. So I don't want to see pound trade above this range until we've traded down into some kind of discount. If it trades through it, whole different story. We're likely on the wrong side and price will run and it will do it aggressively. But this now, the way we consolidated and aggressively broke lower, is saying to me that price should be able to stay below this range, and that this should be able to act as resistance to keep pushing it into the discounts until it's happily done its sell side work, or accumulated sell stop, so to speak. But yeah, you can see it's quite an ugly day in general in terms of how aggressively we reversed midday, as in not even midday, the way price rallied during the Sunday opening and then retraced for the rest of the day. So that's something to take into consideration. But remember, we anticipate price to drop during the first early days of the week so that it can create that low of the week to then trade higher for the latter part of the week. So that's everything on pound. Let's head on to Euro USD. And then similarly, you'll see how this level right here was a high I drew our attention to yesterday, and you can see our price ran that at literally, you know, before Monday even traded, which is interesting. So the fact that we've accumulated stops above these highs, so anyone that was short, they would have been dragged in by that. And then now we're running on lower, and like I said, price will likely continue to drop until it's ready to reverse midweek. So I'm seeing this as the manipulation. But let's go to the daily. You'll see how we grabbed those stops, and then this level right here, again, I spoke about all of this in yesterday's video, so go and check it out. But here's the breaker. This last up close candle, I drew that out, and again, I'm happy for price to drop down into it, and I think it will do it quite aggressively, to be honest. And I'm looking at the way these highs are formed. You see how this high takes out this high and this high takes out this high. Let me just mark this out. So you can see how multiple highs have been ran, 1, 2, 3, and now I anticipate that this wick should act as resistance on a 4-hour level. So let's mark out the 25% level, and I'm looking for price to target this low and then trade into our original target of this breaker, low, high, lower, low. So yeah, things are pretty clean generally speaking. And I'm, like I said, the way we're consolidating at these points, it's building consolidation, which is a level of strength. And then I'm looking at this bearish order block now to hold price. So similarly to what I just done on pound with the range, same here. I don't really want to see price trade through this bearish order block. I'd like to think that price can respect this on euro and then turn it around to send it into sell stops residing below here, and then again into this target which I spoke about in yesterday's video, which is a breaker. So my bias remains the same. It's just that, you know, we had an interesting day in the fact that we ran out buy stops first, very early, very quickly. And, you know, they're probably going to shrink, sink price for now, again creating that manipulation for the week, and then we'll probably see a reversal towards the latter half. Another thing to consider is the fact that most of our news is Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, so it's not really surprising that they're doing all of this manipulation, so to speak, at the beginning, knowing that, you know, later in the week they're probably going to have to do some more on the back of all the news. But generally speaking, I'm looking for this to hold resistance. If we trade through it, then it's going to run, and it will run for these stops, and it will do it quickly. But yeah, so that's going to be everything, guys. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join me over on Discord as well. All the links are in the description, and yeah, definitely watch yesterday's video if you haven't yet. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.